Howdy, Ags. It's game week and time to get back in the saddle. Man, does it feel so good. Aggie football is just a few short days away. We have a feisty team on the slate this week in the South Carolina Gamecocks. Shane Beamer's got them riding high, too. They're coming off a win over number 13 Kentucky, but they're also coming off a bye week just like us. Who can do more with it? We're thinking that we're going to be able to hill up, get some things short up, maybe work out the kinks in the offensive line and come out firing on all cylinders. They're thinking the same thing, and they're riding a wave of momentum. So can they end the streak? We're going for 9 in a row. We are going for an unbeaten record against these guys. They've never beaten us on the gridiron. Is it going to stay that way? We're going to find out on Saturday, and it's going to be a clash that's going to be quite underrated come this weekend. But it won't get a lot of headlines because we don't have any high-flying teams going to be in this matchup. But this is going to be a nice little game to watch, see if we can make it 4-3 on the season now. So before we get into the preview hard and heavy, I need you to like and subscribe to the channel. And look, I'll make you a deal. If you give me the sub today, then next time you're at Kyle Phil for a game, you go and you buy a commemorative cup. When you buy that commemorative cup, you will get free refills. Okay, that's that. You're welcome. It's on Aggie Central. I'm happy to give that to you. Okay, appreciate you for all y'all. So, yeah, hit the like and subscribe button, and love to have you. Love to have you on board. Okay, so first person to know on this team is Spencer Rattler. He's coming over from Oklahoma, right? Sorted past over there. Played for Lincoln Riley. Riley leaves, goes to Southern Cal. He transfers out in the wake of Caleb Williams and everything that's going on there, right? So I don't think he felt like he got a fair shake. He's coming over to South Carolina. He's doing good for them. They wouldn't toss him back. They're not wishing they wouldn't have somebody that's doing a little bit better, to be quite honest, but he's who they got, and they're going to ride with him right now. So you've seen this guy play a little bit probably. Here's what you need to know about him. He's doing 65% completion percentage so far this year, 1,300 yards, 216 per game. This has got him as a top 100 passer at this moment. He's averaging 7.6 per attempt. Not shabby, not great. And he's got 5 TDs on the year. But he does have 8 INTs. Best thing to compare him to, in my opinion, is basically the shiniest penny on Sol Ross during finals week. I mean, look, in the end, it's still just a penny. You know, you might think it's going to get you an A on a final. It's probably not. But, you know, do it anyway. I think that's exactly the sentiment that the Gamecocks have about this guy right now. They'll take him. They'll use him, and they'll love every minute of it and make the most of it, right? So who you need to know more so than him, in my opinion, is Marshawn Lloyd. This guy, again, you're going to hear this theme throughout this preview. Maybe some workhorses, just some solid guys. Nothing real flashy right now. But he's got 434 yards on the ground, 149 more through the air. He's doing 5.8 yards average, and he's contributed 7 TDs. I mean, that's a solid running back, right? Very, very solid running back. What he brings on the ground is not something that's going to catch your eye. But when you look in the stat sheet and when you compare everything that he's done, you get a really good sense of what he brings to the team. We'll talk more on that later, but essentially I'll allude to it with a quick reference to barbecue, something I love. And if you want to open up the #1 barbecue joint in Texas, it's very simple. You want to get in the top 50 Texas monthly. You want to go straight to #1. You're going to have to go through Snow's. That's all there is to it. There's me. I'm at Snow's. Buddy on the left there. That's Tootsie in the middle. Snow on the right side, right? Best barbecue joint in Texas, in my opinion. If you want to do this, you're going to have not only good barbecue, but you're going to have history and a great experience while you're there. So you need multiple things to get to number one. Um, Now, I'm not saying their running back is a number one running back. The point is that if you want to do anything in their offense, it goes through Marshawn Lloyd. Everything is predicated on this guy, in my opinion. We'll see on Saturday how that works out. Uh, just like all barbecue in Texas is predicated on figuring out how to beat Snows, I don't see it happening in the near future. We can beat Marshawn Lloyd, but we're going to have a game plan. And so just like opening up any other joint that you can, man, you better have one hell of a plan, because this guy will tear you up. He really will. It's not obvious that he will do it, but he absolutely will. Okay, so um, next up, Anton Wells Jr. He's our go-to guy through the air. He's he's got 27 receptions on the year, 375 yards. He's averaging 14 yards per catch. Now that's up there. That is up there. That's some of the better ones that we've seen when we're doing these previews. Some teams have a few guys that are in that area. They don't have as many, but this is the guy to watch out for. When it's time to get a first down, they're going for Antoine Wells. Okay, so really, this guy, he's kind of like, he's a really nice compliment. Okay, he's a really nice compliment to Marshawn Lloyd. He's not the guy that they're working through. They don't pass to throw, in my opinion. They more so run to pass, and so he's kind of more along the lines of something like a side dish. Again, very, very important to the overall meal, and something that you want to have as the entire package. But think of it this way: this makes more sense to Aggies, right? So it's like beating your rival in a super regional. You know, kind of sitting there, clean up, hit her down twice with no hits. I mean, you'll take the win, you know, not think twice about it, but holding their best hitter to no hits is a nice addition. So, I mean, it's the same thing with Antoine Wells. He complements the offense very nicely. He's not making any waves, but he's great to have. Shout out to Melendez for that super regional. Appreciate you. So, on defense, nothing fancy on paper either, but capable. So what do you need to know? I really think two names are the best thing for you to know about them on defense. Gilbert Edmond, Jordan Birch. Listed as edge and defensive end or linebacker. They do some bit different things on their roster. You might think that they're playing like a three-down lineman situation, but it looks like four most of the time. But the guys are listed as linebackers. They're running off the edge quite a bit. These two guys, they're sneaky. They're very sneaky. They're like cops right outside of Marlin on Highway 6. You know, the speed limit right there goes from 75 to 55, like real fast, and then all of a sudden you got like lights in your rear. I mean, wow, it happens so fast. That's what'll happen with these guys, because they're very, very unassuming. They don't look like much. They are. They're more than you think. Let's just put it that way. They're not going to be physically intimidating. They do have a motor, and they will come after you, and they will get to you, and they're trending up right now. So watch out for these guys. I think if we have trouble with our offensive line, we're going to continue. These guys are going to play quite a bit of a role in that, and they may end up eating. I hope not, but things matching up wise don't look good. So we'll see what we can do, what kind of progress we made, right? Again, coming off the bye week, I'd love to see Zune back at left tackle. I believe Moko's out for the year, though. So we'll see what's going to happen over there. Maybe Cam Dewberry getting some more minutes. Hopefully Bryce is feeling much better. Perhaps some Aki. I'm not sure. We'll see, but hopefully we've got it figured out, because we're really going to need to have a solid plan to keep these guys at bay. Defensively, again, what can I say here? Just going to reel off some of these things and let you compare them to what we're doing, right? They're 120th in turnover margin. They have 9 takeaways and 15 giveaways. So Not a great turnover ratio. They're -6, and 66% of those are coming through the air. You heard me talk about the interceptions by Spencer earlier. So he can really cause them to get behind the eight ball. They're ranked 100th even in rush D, and they've already given up over 1,000 yards rushing on the year. 4.3 yards per tote, 174 per game, 10 TDs. Nothing to write home about. We're not going to hit them too terribly hard on this because, as you'll see, we're probably not doing much better than that. So, honestly, their saving grace, if they have one, is really going to be that pass D. They come in at 17th in the nation, so some similarities going on with them and our D as well. They're equivalent to Antonio's Pizza. I mean, it's a solid night on Northgate, playing dominoes with friends and pitchers at the Dixie Chicken. Plus, you got somebody's number, and now you need something cheap and delicious. So where do you go? You go to Antonio's Pizza. Best place to get a slice at 2 a.m. But rest in peace. Okay, their passing D. Again, this is what I think it's like. It's just cheap and good. It's cheap and good. Again, you hear the theme happening, right? Just solid. Nothing like crazy. It's not really expensive. It's not flashy. It's just going to be what you need to get the job done. Their opponent's passing efficiency is 55%. They're only giving up 179 yards per game. So quarterbacks are not lighting anything up against them at this point, and we have struggled mightily in this area. So we might do the same here. But they do have some vulnerability if you factor in yards per catch. They are giving up 6.7 yards per catch, which if you factor it in, it drops them to 38th. So it's not a huge drop, but it is something to make note of. They're not giving up a whole lot of yards, but teams aren't passing against them a whole lot either. Something you would expect when they've got that kind of rush D, though, right? So hopefully we're going to take advantage of that as well. They are good enough for 43rd in total D. So not bad. Not bad. Holding it down. Something you might not have expected from South Carolina. Something you might have wanted out of the Muschamp era, but not necessarily something you might have thought of in the Shane Beamer era. But hey, they're doing it. They're allowing 354 yards per game, 5.2 yards per play. Very respectable. Have they played a whole lot? Probably not. And even their game against Kentucky was a little bit weird. We'll kind of get to more of that breakdown here in a little bit and mention some of the ups and downs of that game. So something you might want to be asking yourself, well, how's A&M doing in a lot of these categories, right? So turnover margin, the first one we covered, we're 69th. We're +5 in turnovers. They're -6, right? Rush D, we're 115th. We're doing 4.6 yards per tote. They're doing 4.3. So we're in the neighborhood. 189 yards per game to their 174 through the air. Okay, so RD is really right there with theirs, not terribly mismatched here. We have the 14th best pass D, so we got the edge here. Like I said, our 174 yards per game to their 179. And pardon me, but what I was referencing earlier were rush yards. We're allowing 189. They're allowing 174. So their rush D is slightly better than ours. Passer efficiency against our D, 57%, 5.8 yards per catch. So, again, right in the same area. Might have some discrepancy here in the sacks and tackles for loss, but whenever I looked it up, it wasn't there. We're actually both tied for 102nd in sacks and tackles for loss. We got 10 sacks and 31 tackles for loss. A&M had, a third of those, though, against Bama, like 10, right? And we only had one total in our other two losses. So we have really trended up here. This doesn't look like it's something that's different, but it is a little bit if you can factor in what we're doing as of late. But South Carolina is trending in a similar fashion. Let's slide on over to offensive side of the ball. Rushing, 75th with 145 yards gained per game. They're doing 4.26 yards per tote. We talked about this, and they've actually already earned 170 yards on the year. Very, again, respectable. I mean, this is like your perfect 1950s father. Everything they do is very respectable. It's nothing you can, just kind of toss up and say, man, this is horrible. Do they have flaws? Yes, but everything they seem to do is respectable. They're 65th best passing attack in the nation. We'd probably love and kill to have that at this point. They're completing 66% of their passes. And again, what else would you say about doing 7.9 yards per catch? It's respectable. 1,400 yards passing on the year, 7 TDs. But like I said, total of 10 INTs, 8 of those coming by Rattler. So, thankfully, their offense is a lot like the bomb threat that got called into Kyle Field this last week. It's not explosive. Praise Saul Ross on this one, right? But if their offense is at least got the threat off the ground, ours is basically like picking up the phone, dialing, and then hanging up. So we definitely are not coming in with the advantage in the offensive side of the ball. A&M compared to South Carolina looks like this. A&M is rushing rushing attack is 101st in the nation. We've got doing about 120 yards per game, but they're doing 145. You're thinking, well, it's a 25-yard difference, not that big a deal. Okay, yeah, it's not, but it kind of depends on some of the keys of the game that we're going to get to. Again, very comparable, 4.2 yards per tote for us to their 4.26. Why even note that? It's not that big a deal. I agree. We've done 721 yards, 6 TDs. It's all basically the same. Passing. A&M's got the 97th best attack with 13 yards. Excuse me. They're doing 243. It's worth an extra couple first downs. May make the difference in one drive. But it's worth noting. They're doing 1,200 plus yards through the air. We're doing something very similar. We've got 8 TDs though and only 5 INTs. So it's almost exactly flip-flopped on that. And that is going to be probably something we're going to have to take into account when making a prediction. Okay? Because their TDs to INT ratio is almost flip-flopped from ours in the negative though. So big deal actually coming off of that. That's why I want to highlight it. Now for the total O, altogether they have the 78th ranked offense and A&M's got 112th. Pretty big difference there, at least it comes out that way in rankings. However, 388 yards per game to A&M's 333. Okay, not that big a deal, sounds like. 6 yards per play to A&M's 5.6. Again, in the neighborhood. And they've done 2,300 yards, and we've done just over 2,000. All right, fine. How's it going to play out on Saturday? You've heard all the stats. You know what their passing D's like, passing offense, rush D, rush offense. All of it's very comparable. We hold the edge in passing D, and they hold the edge slightly in probably passing, and even in rush offense as well. However, as similar as our games are, getting the turnovers is what's made the difference for both of our teams. When they played Kentucky, you had a bunch of turnovers. You got a bunch of short fields. They had their fair share of turnovers, but Kentucky wasn't able to capitalize the same way South Carolina was. Something to be said for that. But they converted, and that made the difference. We've done the same. We've gotten short fields, and we've converted. So we're playing very similar games. So whoever continues that trend is probably going to win this game. Okay? It's pretty easy to see that way. Which one of these teams is going to come out, lighten it up all of a sudden? Probably neither one. It's probably going to be more of the same. There might be a few a handful of plays that are going to be different for each, that actually could make quite a bit of difference in the game, but may not be obvious on the stat sheet. So expect the same type of game to play out for most of the way. All right. Now, the D's can step up. They can make plays when needed for South Carolina, just like ours. And at times, they do flash that world beater aspect and mentality. But I do think it's obvious. The best thing to think about when you're playing this team is, what are you going to do about Marshawn Lloyd? That's why I highlighted him so much. We've got to shut that guy down. Everything goes through him. If we can shut him down, this game really simplifies for us to win. So that should be obvious from everything I shared. The running game goes through him. Even the passing game goes through him. We just can't let that translate into letting Rattler and his feet beat us. Okay? So for us, what's it about for us? It's simply about protecting the quarterback. Can we get decent offensive line play? If we can get some passes off. We can get some deep shots. Against Alabama, Haynes King was pressured something like 55% of the time. We've got to have more time. And we can go down the field. We can throw it deep, but we have to have time. So anything in that area that gets better, and we really start to gain an edge here, in my opinion. Now, our routes are getting better. We do need to take advantage of that. However, based off the matchup, we need to take advantage of our run offense against their run D. Again, it can't be more obvious how to shut them down from a defensive standpoint. From an offensive standpoint, it can't be more obvious how to attack them, especially with our weaknesses. We're not a great passing team. We haven't been great running, but they have such a weakness at run defense. We need to be pounding the rock. Pound the rock, Jimbo. So if we do that, we run it down their throat, we run it out their ass, and then you pop it deep to Moose, to Evan, to Chris Marshall. That's what I want to see. I want to see some protection. If we can get that protection, all of this game plan opens up. All of it opens up. So final thing is, we really need to make sure we win the turnover battle. We win the turnover battle, and again, I think you would probably take the bet. If I told you we were going to be +2 on this game, even +1, you probably take us hands down, right? I think that would be for everybody. So those are my keys on this game. Prediction, though. What's the prediction? I've got this game, and I think we're going to have a slight uptick. We're coming off a great effort against Alabama. No moral victories. I can see that. But to gauge a team's progress, you got to go off of more than just wins and losses. So that's why I mention those kinds of things when you hear me mention them. It's not about trying to say, oh, well, we would have won if we had done this or that. Although sometimes that can be true. It's more about like trying to understand, have we made any progress? After you watched Alabama, did you think we'd made any progress? My thought was yes. But we had to look at more than just the win column to figure that out. So I think we're seeing an uptick here, and I'm going to take this game. I think we're going to get to that 24 points this week. I think it's a reasonable, slightly higher prediction than what we got last week. I don't know that we're going to be world beaters on offense, so we'll go 24 for the Aggies and 14 for the Gamecocks. We'll see how that plays out. I am willing to bet. I have not looked at the line just yet to see what the spread is, but I'm willing to bet we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about a 5-point favorite. And I'd probably take the Aggies to cover. I think I feel good about that one on this one. I probably won't bet it because I feel like I jinx the team whenever I do that, right? But 24-14. Aggies win. Streak stays alive. We go to 9-0. Will it happen? I don't know. We'll find out Saturday, and we'll talk about it on Sunday. So until then, thanks and gig 'em.